and welcome to part one of a three-part series about using the UIS budget template. In this first video, we will cover an introduction of the template as well as entering the indirect costs. This training is being presented by the UIS Office of Research and Sponsored Programs. In order to access the budget template, you will need to go to the Research and Sponsored Programs homepage, Sponsored Programs, Pre-Award, Main tab. Under that main tab, you will find a table, and there are separate budgets depending on when your proposal is due. I'm going to be using the FY25 budget template. Developing a budget can be overwhelming, so in order to streamline the process, we have color-coded the different areas in the budget. Please only change cells that are highlighted yellow. Anything that is another color is likely tied to an equation, so entering things in those cells could muck up that equation. My recommendation is to start with the indirect costs in mind. Indirect costs are also called overhead, facilities and administration, or F&A. These are costs associated with, like their name suggests, facilities and administrative costs used in the development and administration of awarded grants. These cannot be directly attributed to grant costs, but it does cover the unit and the project director's time on the grant. It covers campus administration, educational technology, with the research board and other research support, library resources, accounting, facilities, and services. When not limited by the sponsor, we are legally required to charge the entire full negotiated rate. Until June 30th, 2027, the full negotiated rate is 41.2%, and this is for projects that are at least 50% conducted on campus. If this is a majority off campus, you're not using as many resources on campus, and so that rate is 17.8%. Some sponsors will cap the F&A that is allowed, or they will not allow it at all. And in order to know what you should be putting in this cell right here, you need to reference the solicitation. For example, here are three different solicitations that have different requirements for indirect costs. For NSF, we would have to use the full indirect cost established by the cognizant federal agency. For the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity, the indirect costs is limited to 20% for on-campus awards and 10% for off-campus awards. And this example from the Illinois Innovation Network does not allow any indirect costs. Depending on the solicitation, you would change what the F&A rate is listed as. In previous templates, this was not as easy to adjust, but from FY25 on, this is very simple. You would just adjust what is in this cell. If it is completely restricted, you would enter 0%. If it is capped at 20% on campus, you can enter that. If it is the full rate but off campus, easily entered. And if it is the full negotiated rate on campus, that is the only location where you need to change the F&A rate, and it will automatically assess on the proper categories as you entered them, as long as you are entering them in the right area in the yellow cells. That concludes part one of our UIS budget template intro and indirect cost rate. In video two, we'll be going over subawards, personnel, and travel costs.